Hi, this presentation is going to present the idea of research ethics. The basic idea behind research ethics is the notion that we need to have an ethical responsibility to the people we study. So good quality research needs to be conducted in a responsible manner. And that means that those we're studying, we need to avoid bringing any harm to them or exposing their identity or any such thing. And the issue is with some research designs, with some projects aimed at gathering information from people, there are some, I guess, areas that are gray or areas we might call up for debate. But generally, there are clear-cut criteria that we'll be reviewing that help us understand when it is appropriate to go forward with a design or not. And the classic example of a unethical design is what psychologists have referred to as the forbidden experiment, which entails questions of nature versus nurture. How do we set up an experiment that would allow us to tease out the effects? And essentially, this is a forbidden experiment because it would require a level of control over the upbringing of individuals that may imply depriving them of basic socialization, which of course would be a very cruel and unusual treatment of an individual and therefore is forbidden. However, there are some quasi-experiments based around some specific cases of individuals who have been found to have been severely neglected, and then they can become sources of relevant information to those questions. But we could never create a true experiment with that built into the design. And there are many ways that individuals can be harmed by research. One is through their direct participation, as was the case with the Tuskegee syphilis study, when the participants were injected with syphilis and were told deceptively that they were receiving an inoculation, that it was going to be good for their health. And the point of that study was simply to document the harmful effects of syphilis. And unfortunately, even after the cure was discovered, the men in this study were not given the treatment. And this was a racist study and has long been held as an example of what not to do in research, and anticipates many of the types of experiments conducted by Nazi Germany. There are other less obvious or severe forms of harm that can come to people involved in research. Their respect can be tarnished, as is the case with the Milgram and Zimbardo experiments, where individuals are put in unusual situations. Simulations, as in the case of Zimbardo, where some of the participants were prisoners and some were guards, and the guards, because of the situation, were treating the prisoners with a great deal of disrespect and embarrassment. And people coming out of that study may have had a tarnished sense of self-respect, and also tarnished respect from others. And finally, the unequal justice. If you're in an experiment and you're in the group that doesn't receive the benefits from that experiment, while another group in that experiment does receive benefits, that's unfair to you. And so we want to make sure that when we design an experiment, such as a negative income tax, where those in the control group did not receive money and those in the experimental group did, well, it's simply an unfair outcome. So we want to try to build in a way that those who are in the control group can also be rewarded or compensated.